about poo so much, so much. It's like when Chella worked in earlier and it's like, I've got a bag of sanitary towels for you. I walk in place and they go, oh, I need to tell you something about this. I went to the toilet. Somebody showed me a picture. Do you think this is normal?
I get stories.
I think the negatives are, if you put yourself out there on the internet, you're always going to get knobheads wanting to have a go. And so, yeah, especially in the last few weeks, I've had quite a few negative comments of people. And it was when I showed the images of my stoma, a lot of people saying it was disgusting, it wasn't necessary. And I'd absolutely stand against that every step of the way, because it is necessary, because there's hundreds of thousands of people going through it, and there's a really big uptake in people being diagnosed with Crohn's and colitis from about mid-teens to mid-20s. So there's a lot of younger people who are living with an ostomy, and I get those messages, and to be honest, it's like water off a duck's back. Have you seen that one on RuPaul's Drag Race? Means nothing to the rest of you. You should watch it on Netflix. Watch it on Netflix. I can ignore them because I get hundreds of messages every week from people saying, "You've made a difference. I'm not as ashamed. I've been out. I spoke to somebody. I spoke to a work colleague about it. I've been swimming, and so I know it makes a difference. So I ignore it all."
I follow you on Facebook and Instagram, and I just really like how you deal with it, because how you call them out on it really rather than just ignore them. I just think, I noticed last time you put like a screenshot of their... I did.
But these people chose to, on a national newspaper's Facebook site, say that I was gross and I was disgusting and I should be ashamed of myself. So if they're big enough and bad enough to put that on a national newspaper's Facebook page, then yeah, absolutely, I'll call them out on it. Say it to my face. Come and tell me, and I'll talk to you about why. I'm not gross. I'm living with an illness and a disability, and I'm just doing the best I can, and I'm making a difference. What are you doing, you keyboard warrior? not that I can. And the best bit is I'm going to plug. I'm writing a book. A publisher got in touch and just thought that it worked really well, so I'm writing a book. So that's amazing because thank you.
On Desert Island Discs, a record producer, was it Robin Miller? I think that's his name. Became blind during his life. He had a condition in his eye, he's gone blind. And he said it changed his life for very much the positive. At first it was difficult, but it changed his life. So Kirsty asked him, given the choice now, do you wish in your life that you'd not gone blind or you had gone blind? And he said, I am glad I went blind. Wow. So what's it, because of your positive experience, how would you answer that question?
I don't know. I think when I'm on a positive day, I'd say, it's changed my life in a lot of negative ways, but the impact that I've been able to have on other people's lives has made it all worthwhile. But then I don't know whether that's just, on a bad day when I've been up 7 times through the night and when I feel disconnected from my husband and my children because I've got to just focus so much on myself. I don't know. I really don't know. I think at this moment in time, I wouldn't change anything because it means that I get to come out on a Thursday night and talk to people like you rather than sitting at home and, it's a bonus. They didn't. And somebody asked me this week to name and shame them. And it really wasn't about that, because it's never been an isolated incident. When the letter went viral, I thought this is something that people with IBD have to deal with all the time. And what I didn't realise was the impact it has on so many people with different disabilities. And I started this campaign called More Than Meets the Eye. And it's about raising awareness of people with invisible disabilities. Because the people who got in touch with me, yeah, there was a lot of people with IBD saying, you know, I've had the same thing. But there were people with disabilities or issues that I'd never even think of. So there was a man who got in touch, and he has Tourette's. And one of his tics is that he moves his head to the side. And he just said when he's out in public, he can't use a cubicle because he bangs his head. So you would look at him and he's got no visible signs of any disability. Yet when that one thing of being able to use a stool that's this big rather than this big means that he can go out, he can go and have a normal life. There was another man who got in touch who said that his wife has dementia, and they're both reasonably young. And when they go out, he has to take his wife into the bathroom with him because she wanders away, and it's really upsetting for both of them. And he says the comments and you know, sort of lewd comments when people see the two of them coming out of an accessible toilet. But that was something that somebody pulled me up on straight away. And they said, you shouldn't be using the word disabled toilet. And first of all, I thought, well, is that just sort of pedantic? You know, it's all right, is it not politically correct? But he said, no, you should use the term accessible toilet, because as soon as you do that, you take away the connotation of somebody in a wheelchair. And as soon as you think, well, actually, it's an accessible toilet, it's a bathroom that somebody who needs more space or has extra needs, then it stops a lot of the judgment, the people being judgmental. And that really struck with me, and it's something that I've tried to pass on to other people. But yeah, I'm ranting on again now. But the amount of people who got in touch, who've got so many different types of issues, and it just made me want. There's no anger. I don't think I want to get that woman and have a go at her. I was quite angry when I wrote the letter. But what there is I just want people to be a little bit less judgmental, a little bit kinder, and you know, I know people got in touch with me and said that could have been me tutting it, yeah, because I think that I'm defending the rights of the genuinely disabled. And I get that, I do really get that, but the reality is that if you see somebody and you think, well, they don't look like they should be using that, the best thing that can happen in that situation, if that person really is just blagging, is they might feel a bit embarrassed and they might not do it again next time. But the worst thing that can happen is if it's somebody who's got a genuine need, is you could absolutely crush the spirit. I had an email from a woman whose daughter was born prematurely at 26 weeks, and her daughter had severe bowel problems and had to have a lot of surgery, and she's now got something called short bowel syndrome, and she's 4 now, but she still has to use nappies, she still has problems with incontinence. And she wrote me a great quote that I don't have here, where she said she sees the people tutting or pointing or looking at her thinking that she's, you know, she's just going in there because she's got a child. And she says, and I refuse to explain my daughter's complex medical needs to a stranger. And so I just walk away with my head held high. And they stand there thinking that they've done something good. What they've done is made the lives of a family with a disabled child a lot more difficult. And I think that's what we need to think about before thinking, oh, I'm going to tell them that they shouldn't be using it. The reality is everyone's fighting their own battles and it's none of your goddamn business. Sorry. So yeah, sorry.
Do you have one more?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was diagnosed 2 years ago with colitis. Yeah, it's just fantastic to see some kind of similar age to relate to. And I was going to ask a kind of person about having your colon removed. How do you feel fatigue-wise and pain-wise? Has it got any better or worse? I guess it's very personal, isn't it?
It is personal. I think sometimes you need an outside perspective because, like, straight after the surgery, well, for the first probably 6 months, I remember saying to my husband, why did I do this? This is worse than before. I was back to going to the toilet 20 times a day. And he had to remind me that actually, yeah, you are doing that, but you're not bleeding, you're not in agony, you're not, you know, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's means that you've literally got ulcers within your colon. So anything you eat that passes through your system, it hurts an awful lot. And as well as all the medications you're on to try and fix the problem, which often have worse side effects than the disease itself, you know, there's a lot of pain medication. And like you said, fatigue's a massive, massive thing. And though I've had my colon removed, and so now ulcerative colitis can only live within the colon. And because it's been removed, sort of literally, I don't have ulcerative colitis. But because it's an autoimmune disease, it still affects everything else. So it affects my eyes and my skin and my joints. And like you say, the fatigue is one of the worst things because you can't explain it to anyone. It's not being a little bit tired. When I do try to explain it, I say it's like somebody stuck a straw in the top of my head and just drawn out every piece of energy that I've ever had. And so I do still have issues with sort of the joints, eyes, skin, fatigue, but it's definitely better because I don't have the pain, the bleeding, and I'm learning to use my bowel, my new bowel, and yeah, it's definitely better. A year later, and this is going to sound terrible for a normal person, I go to the bathroom about 6 times a day. That sounds an awful lot, but when you were going before 20, 30, 40 times a day, when you spend your whole life basically sat on the toilet, there's the best books in the world in my bathrooms because I used to spend hours in there. So yeah, it's definitely improved my life. But it's such a massive decision for anyone to make. And like I said, you know, I know that the medication that we have to take can be just horrific. You know, I was on steroids for a long time. I got the moon face. Moon face. It's an actual medical thing. Moon face. Why would they do that? As if you didn't feel bad enough that you bloated up. The doctor's like that. Ah, yes, moon face. So yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you so much.